Hello you beautiful peoples of the internet, it's me Glyn and this is Cheapskate Gaming News and Tech Reviews, and as a follow-up to my PS5's Good, the Bad and the Ugly, this is going to be the Xbox Series X's The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. So without any further ado, let's get on with it, and let's start as I did with the PS5, let's start with the good. So I think for the Xbox Series X, I think good would be the price. Now, with my PS5, that came under a bad, but what it is, I'm comparing apples to apples. So the PS5 I compared to the price of the PS4. It was a £100 jump in price. With the Xbox Series X, comparing that to the Xbox One release, that's not a jump in price, it's the same price. So, as a good point, the Series X is the same price as what an original Xbox One was, so that's a good thing. Of course, another outstanding feature for the Series X is its backwards compatibility. Not all 360 games from 360 are backwards compatible. There's a select bunch of titles, Xbox One, Xbox 360, original Xbox games. So if the games are on the marketplace for Xbox One or Xbox 360 and they're on the Xbox One marketplace, that all those games will be backwards compatible with the Xbox Series X, and in some games you will get boosts and bonuses to frame rates. Again, I mentioned on the PS5 overview, like I'm doing with this one, games like Monster Hunter, the Hitman series, all those games now get boosted up to 60 frames a second, no problems at all. So that's a great little addition. And also another additional feature of the Xbox Series X is its automatic HDR mode, where it takes a game, certain titles they've looked at, and it says, oh, I'm going to add a HDR mode onto this game, even though the game was never made with a HDR. So if you've got a 4K HDR TV, that's going to make some of your older games look way better and present them better, which is a great outstanding feature that the PS5 does not have that feature. I'd also like to say about the implementation of frame rates as well on the Xbox Series X. So the Xbox Series X seems to have a lot more compatibility with TVs, PC monitors and the such. So it has 1080p 60 support, 1080p 120 support, 1440p support out of the box, and 1440p 120 support, as well as the 4K 60 and 4K 120 support, which would come through your HDMI 2.1. So already out of the box, the Series X is improved over the PS5 in regards to frame rates and how it outputs frame rates to TV. So that's obviously a very big feather in the cap for us, for the Microsoft system. I think another feather in the cap as well for the Microsoft System Series X is that it does come, well, it doesn't come with, but you can buy an external SSD. Yes, it's quite expensive, and I'll probably put that on my negative part, but if you need external SSD and you want to buy one, then it's £210, or I'm not sure what it is in UK pounds, probably about £170 UK price, but at least you've got the option to add extra storage to your Xbox Series X. And keeping with storage as well, don't forget the Xbox Series X comes with slightly more storage than the PS5. It comes with a 1TB hard drive built in. You don't get the full 1TB, but I think after system reserves are all taken up, you get about 850GB, which is, again, is a significant little bit extra than what the PS5 covers. So that's another really good point about the Series X, is a larger hard drive than that. Another positive point we're looking forward is its compatibility with previous peripherals, more or less with the original controller. So if you've got an original controller from the OG Xbox One, that'll work fine with an Xbox Series X. If you've got an Xbox One S controller, that will work fine with an Xbox One Series X. So again, that's another great little feature. If you've bought and previously bought Xbox consoles and you have extra controllers, well, no problems at all. You'll be able to use those controllers with your new games. The only thing that'll be missing, obviously, with the new Series X controller is it has a share button, and that won't be implemented on your older controllers. But if you're playing 2-player or 4-player split screen, you can use your old controllers to get you along with that, and it'll work with new Series X games as well as older backwards compatible titles. I think another big plus point as well with the Xbox Series is its power. It's a more powerful system than the PlayStation 5. How that will play out with games that are to be released in the future, we'll see. It does have a significant power advantage in that it's a 12 teraflop RDNA 2 architecture over the 10 teraflop which the PS5 have. So looking forward, it could be higher frame rates, better resolutions with forthcoming high AAA titles. And of course, I suppose the pied de resistance with the Xbox is Game Pass. Game Pass is a fantastic value for money. Although it is an extra cost, you do have to pay extra for your Games Pass. But if you are a Games Pass subscriber and you upgrade to the Series X, instantly, the day you open your Series X, you've got over 100 extra titles you can play straight away and download to your Series X. And don't forget as well, EA Access has also become part of the Game Pass, and that gives another 40 or 50 games added on to the Game Pass. So it looks like there's over 150 games now on your Game Pass. So you have basically the Netflix of video games straight there on your console day one. Also, according to reports and reviews from other reviewers, I don't personally have an Xbox Series X here to review, but I'm going off all the information that's available online. But the noise of the Xbox Series X, it's whisper quiet, it's silent, and it's fairly cool as well. It does pump out a bit of heat out the top, but that's what it's supposed to do. So it's a positive in my opinion. But it's nice and quiet, and it sits in the room, you can hardly notice it, and while you're focusing on your video games, and that's what you want really. You don't want someone that's sitting in the corner of your room blasting out a load of noise, a load of heat, and basically trying to distract you from the game you're playing. So heat and noise output really good on the Xbox Series X. Another feature as well that's unique to the Xbox Series X is the quick resume feature. Although early reports are saying that it's not running very well at the minute, but they do have this feature called quick resume, which basically means you can stack 3 to 4 games off your library, and you can basically start the game and be playing it from where you left off within seconds, so around 5 or 6 seconds, and you can swap between those 4 or 5 games that you have on your quick resume list within 4 or 5 seconds. So say you're playing Apex Legends, and then suddenly your mate gets in the party and says, come on, let's have a game of FIFA, and it's on your quick resume. Within 4 or 5 seconds you can be playing FIFA. So that's a really nice little feature they've got there with the quick resume, which is exclusive now to the Series X. So I think I've pretty much covered most of the really good points about the Series X, so let's go on about the bad points. And I was quite surprised by this really, because I'm more of a PlayStation fan. I've got both consoles, but this generation, the last PS4 and Xbox One generation, I've certainly been PS4 in the PS4 camp all the way. So anyway, let's go on to the bads for the Xbox Series X. And of course, the big elephant in the room is exclusive titles. The big Halo that was originally going to be for launch day, that's all over the pictures and the packaging, that's been delayed for obvious reasons, that it needed more work. It needed more time in the oven to cook it up. So it will eventually get launched when, we don't know. But so far, I think the only really AAA exclusive Series X game at the minute is I think it's a Gears of War Tactics, which is a real-time strategy game, which certainly isn't going to appeal to a mass market. So that is probably one of the biggest things going against Xbox at the minute, is that the exclusive AAA titles are certainly thin on the ground, and moving forward there doesn't seem to be very many titles to be released within the next 6 months either. So that is a really big negative, and it's such a shame, because if Microsoft they've got 23 new developers, devs, companies that make video games. For goodness sake, they could have had at least 4 or 5 games ready to go for the Series X. Okay, so Halo was delayed, but they should have had 3 or 4 other games ready to go. They should have had a new Forza game at least to go with the Series X. But things as they are, it is what it is. And unfortunately, it's probably the biggest negative against the Series X. And I think another negative is probably the price of the external storage. So it's not cheap. If you want the external SSD that's coming, that you can get, and it's made by Microsoft's own company that they've got to do it. I believe it's Seagate that are doing the SSD, but you can only get that one particular Seagate drive, and it is fairly expensive, but at least they have something which the Sony camp doesn't have at the moment. But at least if you're in a position where you can afford it, then at least that's good. As expensive it is, at least it's an option that the other system doesn't have. So SSD is expensive, and that's what I'm going to call a negative. Now this is going to be a bit of a strange one, but Game Pass is an extra cost. So to really enjoy your Xbox Series X, you should really have Game Pass, and you're going to have to pay extra for the Game Pass. So it's more of a half negative than anything. I mean, if you're into the Xbox at the moment, you're going to have Game Pass anyway, but it is an extra expense. But it's fantastic value for money, so take that as you will. But of course, the Sony are doing a 20 free game with their PlayStation Plus for PS5, so that's no extra cost apart from the PlayStation Plus subscription. Again, I'm going to assume that you've got Xbox Live subscription and PlayStation Plus subscription here, so that's the only slight negative, but although it's not really a negative, I am really clutching straws here on the negatives. I will admit that myself. This is what I'm finding extremely strange about the Xbox Series X, is that apart from the main negative, which is the lack of AAA titles, as a console, it's fantastic. And that's coming from a PlayStation fanboy, and I've said it. There's a lot more positives with this Series X, I'm finding, than there are negatives. I can find a lot more negatives with the PS5 than I can with the Xbox Series X. And judging by latest news as well, there's even more negatives with the PS5, and that is got no web browser. And it's one of the main things I use on when I'm not using games on my PlayStation. I'm shopping on Amazon or using the web browser to view YouTube, and now that's no longer a feature on the PS5. And you do have Bing on Xbox Series X, so it wins there. So overall, I'm really surprised by this. On paper, I should be buying a Series X, but being a bit of a dickhead and a Sony fanboy, I will be getting the PS5. And I will buy a Series X, but not straight away. I think I'll get one once Halo's announced and its release date is confirmed and we know it's going to actually come out. I think then I will definitely put my money down and get a Series X. But so this is my overall, my good view, my good, the bad and the ugly. And for Xbox Series X, there's not much bad at all. It's just the AAA titles, which, come on, Microsoft, you should have known. You knew the console was coming out. You had a year on this, and you must have known a couple of years before, because you would have started that architecture, building that architecture years before, and you've had plenty of studios that you've acquired over the time, and there's just no excuse really for not having some good AAA titles that can show off what your fantastic sounding console should do. So I hope you've enjoyed this little thing of the good, the bad and ugly. It surprised me. I don't know if it surprises you as well, but if you like this sort of thing, give me a thumbs up, consider a subscribe, and this is Glyn out on Cheapskate Gaming News and Tech Reviews, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.